Hello. Today's stories come from r/relationships. We have two extra large helpings of multi-sub Reddit stories today, chock full of intrigue, drama, and slightly more cerebral than usual. Our first was a wild one and has received a final update. It's titled, "My husband is obsessed with my boss and it's all my fault." 9 October 2022. I started this job about 1.5 years ago. I can't say what it is because I want us to stay anonymous and our country is very small, so my boss would probably be recognized. The moment I started, I felt like I was in the right place. My boss, the owner of the company, is very cool and kind. She's self made and she loves her job. She does a lot of the dirty work herself that bosses who have 30 to 35 employees wouldn't have to do, but she just loves it. On top of that, we have a 6-hour workday, our salaries are 20% higher than the market, and we have 7 paid vacation weeks a year. Her reasons? She appreciates us and she's getting richer anyway. I was so proud of working with a woman like her, so I wouldn't shut up talking about her to my husband, especially in the beginning. My husband was as fascinated by her as I am until he met her in a company party last Christmas. She must have been beautiful when she was young. She could have been a model. I think his fascination became a crush or an obsession or maybe worse. Love. Now he follows her on social media. Her accounts are private, but he stalks her with my account. He also follows the company Instagram and likes every picture she's in. He asks about her all the time. She's a very private person, but when her divorce from her ex husband was finalized in the beginning of this year, we all found out because he started showing up to work. He owned half her company now, and he started to try to make changes in our work hours and salaries. We found out that her husband had cheated on her with a younger girl who he also tried to employ in our company. She still works with us. She, probably lawyers involved, eventually convinced her husband to sell her back his share. We're still in this process now. My husband has followed all this, and he was so sad for her and so angry. How could anyone do this when they had a woman like her? If it was him, he would cherish her, love her, blah, blah, blah. Who leaves a woman for a girl? I got very angry and told him that all men prefer younger women if they could choose. He laughed at me and told me only losers do that. The last drop was last Friday. We were out for a movie night and we saw my boss with a young man. He looked in his mid 20s. My husband lost it. He didn't know that she dated younger men. He wanted us to go say hello, but I refused and yelled at him to control himself because he looked pathetic. When we got home, he was frenetically going through her social media until he found the guy and he sighed in relief. The guy was her nephew, and we didn't see the whole company, but they were out with other family members. My husband was so happy, like a weight lifted off his chest. I lost it on him. I started crying and yelling and told him he was in love with her, and he was shocked when I pushed and kicked him out of our bedroom. I locked the door. He stood outside trying to calm me down, telling me he loved me and I'm his girl and always will be. Hmm. Then he said something that ruined me even further. It's not like someone like her would look my way. Right, because that's what a woman wants to hear. I love you. I love you so much because I can't have her. I haven't slept since then. Why is he feeling like this? Is it love? Infatuation? She's too old for my husband, so what is it? And why would he think he couldn't have her? He's very handsome and still young. She should feel lucky a young, handsome man likes her. And does he mean I'm less than her to accept him? Or is it purely her money and status? He refuses to admit anything. And what can I do now? I love this job. I love the benefits. Thanks to this job, our life has improved and we can afford more than just the necessities. I'm starting to hate my boss, though, and I hate myself for idolizing her in front of my husband. Edit. Sorry, this is getting longer, but I have spoken to my mother, sister, granny, and some friends about this. And about what happened last Friday, and they all think I'm making a big deal out of nothing. Update. I just found out that my husband, separated, is dating my boss. I don't know what to do. Hi, I'm in so much pain and I don't know what to do. I don't want to do something stupid while hurting. I got a lot of good advice last time I was here, so I don't know. Maybe you can help me this time too? My old post is linked in my bio. I hope you read it before this one because I don't want to tell the whole story again. I went against my family and friends and asked my husband for a separation. I felt like my heart couldn't take it anymore. My intuition told me that my husband wasn't all mine. This was shortly after the event at the movies. My husband was in total confusion. He said that I was making a mistake, making a mountain out of a molehill, but he moved in with his brother. However, we decided to start couples counseling too. It went well the first 3 weeks or so, but my husband became more and more reluctant to participate, and sometimes he just canceled on me last second. He stopped showing up this month, and he also stopped calling and texting me. I was even more heartbroken, but it just solidified that my intuition was right and that I was doing the right thing, seeing that he is not interested in working on us anymore. I chose not to quit my job. I still loved it with all the heartbreak, and I really needed the benefits. Like, I'm the only one I know who was having a 3 weeks paid vacation around Christmas and New Year. I never see my boss anyway, and she doesn't even know of my existence. My husband eventually stopped being active on Instagram, and I thought it was normal because we were going through adversities until yesterday. That was when his brother shared my husband's stories of the night. My husband was in a restaurant holding a woman's hand. I could only see her hand. So my husband has just blocked me and my family and friends from seeing his updates. I commented, "What the F?" And this morning, my husband called me for the first time in a month, totally scared, and started begging, "Please don't ruin this for me. Please don't ruin this for me." I told him, "What do you mean?" He said, "Don't tell her about us." Oh no, this does not sound good. I never made the connection at first. It never, ever crossed my mind, even. That woman in the picture was my boss. I started crying and screaming at him. How could you do this to me? How could you tell me that it was all in my head when it's obviously all over your Instagram? He said it just happened. I dumped him and he was single and just happened to find her on Bumble. He begged me not to ruin this for him. She knows he's in the process of divorce, but she doesn't know that he already knew who she was or that she was the boss of his soon to be ex. They have been seeing each other for 6 weeks, about 2 weeks after I asked him to move. And it is getting serious. He begged for a good 5 minutes, telling me how he hasn't been this happy in all his life and that I shouldn't ruin his happiness since, again, I was the one who ended our marriage. I've been crying since this morning. I don't know what to do. I want to ruin him and his happiness, but I don't know if I have any right to do that, and I'm so worried about losing my job. Please help. Edit for new information. Okay. My husband has been calling me nonstop, and I have now answered him. He is panicking about me telling her everything, so he begged me to give him the chance to tell her himself. His words were, "I never stalked her or creeped on her. I just fell for her and was scared that she would think I was creepy since you thought the same. Give me a chance to tell her the truth in my own pace, so at least she doesn't think I'm a liar or a freak like you seem to think." He still swears they matched on Bumble. I didn't know what that is until now. But it is like Tinder? I'm just devastated right now. He has no regards for me and my feelings. Everything he is thinking of is not to scare her away. And I told him that he said that I was the one who left him. People fall out of love, and that's okay, and no one's fault, and that I was in the right for ending the relationship. But I was the one who ended it all the same. Don't hurt us, and I promise to give you everything you want. She is happy with me, so don't hurt us. Last update. I just found out that my husband separated is dating my boss. I don't know what to do. I talked to my boss yesterday, Monday, after lunch. I told her everything. Basically, how I was so happy I found this job, how I looked up to her and was proud to be working for someone like her, and that this rubbed off on my husband, who grew more obsessed with her each day. I apologized for using obsessed because I didn't know how things were between them, but that it was how I perceived his feelings. I told her about the day at the movie and how it basically made me realize that our issues were greater than I thought. I told her that I know and accept that my marriage is over and that my husband didn't love me anymore, and that the reason I'm telling her now isn't to judge or blame her, but to let her know the whole story because it's just fair that she knows that he has been following her life for over a year now. Because from what I understood from my husband, you were under the impression that you just matched with him on a dating app, I said. She was silent the whole time I was talking, just listening to me until I mentioned the dating app, and that's when she interrupted me. "That's not how we met." "Oh, you don't say." "That's right. This just keeps getting better." That's not how we met. He has been a patron of my gym for the past 6 months, maybe year, she said. I know her gym. It's the one across from our workplace. She works out there every morning before coming to work. I didn't know he had joined it because I knew him to be a member at the gym near our home. He has been, without telling me, just across the street from me every morning without telling me. She looked like how I felt, shocked. I apologized and told her that he has kept dating her a secret from me and that he begged me not to talk to her, telling me that he hasn't been this happy and so on. She didn't say much, just thanked me for telling her. Today she asked if she could talk to me. She apologized for everything that happened to me and asked if I needed any help. I said no. She thanked me again. When I got home, my husband was there. He had called me at least 50 times, but my phone was on silent. He was crying, calling me bitter and vindictive and pathetic. He said I ruined his relationship and future. She is scared of him now, and it is all my fault. He wants me to tell her that he is not dangerous, nor is he a pervert. He wants me to tell her that I was the one who wanted a divorce and that people fall out and in love and it is nobody's fault and neither is it creepy. He hasn't done anything wrong. He stayed faithful to me and would have stayed that way if I didn't kick him out. He asked me if I ever felt unsafe with him to make rumors about him being a stalker and a creep. I should tell the truth. I asked him to leave and that I'm starting the divorce, and from now on, he could only contact me once I got a lawyer through them. I have been crying since he left. We haven't seen each other for weeks, and he had no feelings whatsoever for me. He looked demented and full of sorrow, like a broken little boy. How could he change this fast? Before we separated, he held me and begged me to believe him and his love for me. Was it all a lie? Yes. My whole entire relationship? Yes. Good night, and thank you for the support. This is a throwaway, and I will be deleting it soon. I just thought I would update before doing that. Good riddance. OP is either still in shock or, I hate to say it, naive. I'd love to hear more about how their relationship started. Perhaps being on the receiving end of his adoration, which isn't creepy at all, felt a little different. It does sound like kids were not involved, though, which is a saving grace. Let's check out the comments where everyone is wondering how to apply for this magical job that pays 20% above market rates. Super Spesh Baby said, I don't think OP is in the US. She also used a comma as a decimal, which is standard in some other countries, but I don't know which ones. Amanda Loftus said, she said our country is very small, so I'm guessing somewhere like Liechtenstein or Luxembourg. Nana the Silent added, I bet she's Dutch. We're all very tall, so we identify as small countryed. Mo Adib said, wait, what was his plan at the movies? He's already been stalking her and is known to her at that point from the gym, so if they met, he was going to reveal to her that he's got a wife in her company and reveal to the wife that he already knew the boss from the gym. Lou Miss added, nah, he didn't think. His brain stopped working when boss had been seen with, gasp, another man. In response to, on top of that, we have a 6-hour workday, our salaries are 20% higher than the market, and we have 7 paid vacation weeks a year. Sinky Sack said, snap. Cartoon Hero said, yeah, for real, glad OP chose to stay because where else can you find a sweet gig like this? Beardless Eggplant said, agreed, I don't have a husband. Is OP's boss single? Hiring? Aspirational Soul added, oh, not this again. Hudge Pudge got the last word, I'm really just looking for a good place to work out. Wonder if OP's boss knows of any good gyms. Story 2, dare I say, might be even wilder. It's equally received multiple and final updates. I will note, if you usually skip the comments, you might want to stick around for these. Story 2 is titled, My boyfriend has always been extremely cold. Today, I found out he was diagnosed as a psychopath. How do I proceed? Title says it all. Basically, my boyfriend has never really been the most loving. He doesn't seem to care about anyone or anything except me, or at least I thought. But when I was looking through some of his old stuff, I found out that he had been diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder, ASPD, the medical term for a psychopath. Apparently, it's genetic because his father also was diagnosed with it and is currently in jail for killing his wife, my boyfriend's mother. I read his testimony before, and his only reason was because I felt like it. It was chilling. But I didn't think my boyfriend was like that at all. I knew he didn't really care about most people, but he is extremely charming. how he seduced me, I guess. However, now that I know of my boyfriend's diagnosis, I've been going through our entire 4 year relationship and reconsidering it. In our 4 years of dating, he doesn't really say, I love you out of the blue. He will only say it if I say it first. I never really noticed this, but now that I know about his diagnosis, well, that changes things. The way he says I love you is, frankly, devoid of emotions as well. He says it matter of factly, not like he actually means it. There's a lot of other things he does that I guess wouldn't be considered normal. He has never hit me or been physically violent, nor has he verbally abused me. But he treats me like a child. He likes to order me around to do things for him. Everything has to be his way. He respects my opinion and will even change his plans to work around mine. But ultimately, he is the decision maker. I've pointed this out to him in the past, and he says that he values my opinion immensely and that I am the smartest person he has met. I used to believe him. But what if this is just another tactic to manipulate me? He also has a high paying executive job, and I've heard from his employees that he can be very cruel to them. I would always dismiss their concerns because I thought they were just jealous. But now I realize that isn't the case. I don't know what to do anymore. Can psychopaths love? Is he just manipulating me? I feel like my entire relationship is a lie. But am I being ableist by stereotyping him based on this diagnosis? Update. I made a post 2 days ago about how I found my boyfriend's ASPD psychopathy diagnosis. A day after I posted that, I finally decided to go and talk to him about it. Since it was a conversation, I don't know word for word what he or I said, but I was taking notes on what he was saying for my own benefit and for the purposes of this post. He noticed that I was taking notes but didn't seem to care or didn't comment on them. If you just want to see my notes as a too long didn't read of sorts, then here is the Imager link. Be warned, my handwriting is messy. Also, the parts that are covered or crossed out is personal information. My notes. Without further ado, here's a summary of what transpired in script form since I don't know how else to write it. I tried my best to make it the most accurate I could to reality, but obviously I can't remember every little thing that happened. Thus, it may sound overly dramatic or unrealistic at times, which is why I attached the notes just in case you wanted the raw facts. I began with yesterday, when you were at work, I found some boxes. I was looking through them and found this form. I showed the form with his diagnosis. I was wondering why you didn't tell me about this at all, and I want you to be completely honest, no more lying. I don't see why it was necessary to tell you. Besides, I made no attempt to hide it. You do realize that this makes me question our entire relationship. Why? Well, how am I supposed to know you haven't been manipulating me? I was under the impression you were also manipulating me, were you not? I'm silent because I am shocked. You have tried to make me a better person. You constantly want me to make friends. You chastise me when I act a certain way toward my employees. I've become your pet project. You believe that your kind presence will make me kind. You aren't a project, you're my boyfriend. There isn't a difference. Isn't a relationship supposed to be mutually beneficial? I improve you, you improve me. I'm close to tears. So you don't love me? You just want benefits? I never said that. I do love you. How do I know you aren't lying when you've lied this entire time? I was getting angry at this point. He was still not reacting. If you truly believe I'm a liar, then nothing I do will prove that assumption wrong. Will prove that you love me then. I love the conversation we have. I love that you accept me for who I am. I love your intelligence and wit. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You are the smartest person I have ever met. But that doesn't sound very psychopathic. Not everything I do has to be psychopathic. Well, then have you ever killed anyone or anything? I've killed rodents. That's it. I'm disgusted. It was a long time ago. I was much younger then, and my mother had recently been murdered. That's no excuse. Did you kill them brutally? I suppose. He described how he killed them with almost glee, and I'm not going to say it here because it is not good. Do you feel guilty about that at all? I was inching away from him at this point because I was very disturbed. No? Though if you are concerned, I have no desire to do that again. Well, that's good at least. Do you think you would kill a human? Like my father did? I guess? I will never be my father. I don't like that implication. Sorry. Why are you asking me all these questions? I'm a bit scared of you. I have never done anything to harm you. I know, I just need answers. When did you get your diagnosis? 11 years ago. Okay, but why? So and so told me I should. You don't normally listen to people's advice. Admittedly, after she mentioned it, I wondered if I had inherited any of my father's characteristics, so I went. Do you think the diagnosis is correct? I do, though it has been quite a while, and I never got a second opinion, so perhaps it has changed. After this, we started talking about personal things I will not share on the internet. Would you be upset if I broke up with you? Yes. He didn't look upset at all. I think we need to take a break for a month. I need to sort my feelings out. This seems to come out of nowhere, but I was considering this throughout the conversation, and his lack of emotion was the deciding factor. He actually looks angry and upset for a second, but then is calm again, so maybe I'm just imagining things. He said, "After 4 years together, you're going to leave just because of a piece of paper? I'm not saying it's forever. I just need to take some time away from you." "Fine. Where will you stay?" "Here. This is my house, and since you're the one breaking up with me, I don't think it's fair that I leave." "Whatever. For what it's worth, it would be very unfortunate to lose you." "I don't want to lose you either, but I need a break." I went upstairs to pack essentials, then I left. Right before, I gave him a peck on the lips. That was a lapse of judgment on my part. I will say that he didn't look happy that I was leaving, and as I was walking to leave, he asked me to stay. I said no. He said, "Fine," and left it at that. So, yeah, there you have it. I still love him, and I do think he was genuine when he said he loved me, but I'm not sure I can get over all the things he's done. I went into this conversation hopeful, but as soon as he said he didn't feel it was necessary to tell me, my emotions took over. I started asking way more accusatory questions. To be honest, I wish I had been more logical in my approach. Maybe then we would have arrived at a different conclusion. If you're wondering, I'm staying with a friend at the moment. He doesn't know where or which friend. I just need this month to regroup and decide what my next steps are. He was one of the best parts of my life. I had never connected to anyone the way I did with him. I have no clue what I will do. Frankly, I need advice. With all that has happened, what do you think I should do? Also, I have no way to prove if he's telling the truth or not. So before you yell at me in the comments saying these are all lies, just know that all I know about his diagnosis is what he's told me. I may try and track down the psychologist he went to, but I think that would be a breach of confidentiality if she told me anything about him. Please feel free to give me advice. Edit. A lot of you are bashing me for this, and that is completely fine as you are entitled to your own opinion. However, as user Vesperjack reminded me, I forgot to mention that the reason for his psychopathy diagnosis, not an official term but something that the psychologist wrote on his form, was because of his violence toward animals and the careless, almost gleeful way he talked about it. Snip, not at all okay on YouTube. See the link if you want to read it. When he told me this story, he said it with such nonchalance that I couldn't even believe what I was hearing. He was 8 when his mother died, and this started when he was 7, ended at age 11. I recommend reading user Smiggles Throwaway's comment if you want an analysis on the things he said during the conversation. But still, I do appreciate all the advice and comments. Final update. This is the final update to this post. I wasn't planning on making an update, but a few people have asked me for it, so here we are. Before I start, I ask that you do not directly insult me. You can say whatever you want about my actions, but I would appreciate it if you don't direct message me with insults and attacks. Quite frankly, you know nothing about me other than what I've chosen to share, and thus can't make an accurate judgment about my character as a whole, so there is no need to attack me. I'm also not directly looking for advice at the moment. This is simply an update post. However, if you want to give your 2 cents, it will be appreciated. Thank you. Anyway, a few days after I made my first update post, I was still staying with my friend. I must admit, those first few days were a nightmare to go through. Every 5 minutes, I would think about my boyfriend and want to contact him. I kept trying to distract myself, but of course, my thoughts kept wandering back. He followed through on his word and didn't contact me, which I appreciate as it made me feel less tempted. However, it was still extremely hard to distance myself when he was literally a text message away. On the 4th day of our separation, the friend I'm staying with apparently bumped into him at the grocery store. I don't know if she actually came upon him by accident or if she purposefully sought him out, but either way, they had a conversation. She asked him where I was, even though she knew where I was, and he said it was none of her business. She then lied to him and said that she hadn't seen me in a while, apparently in an attempt to worry him. He again was not fazed and did not contact me, which either means he could care less about my location, suspects I'm with my friend, or simply doesn't want to bother me. In the next few weeks, I continued to try and distract myself by working, studying, or talking with my friends. I also decided to research more about ASPD during this time, and I talked to a therapist about the struggles I have faced in my relationship. She gave me a lot of clarity and convinced me that, should I choose to make this work, he needs to come with me to couples therapy in order to work through our problems. Finally, I discussed ASPD and psychopathy with a psychologist who specializes in it. She told me what a few of you said in the comments, that in order to be diagnosed with psychopathy, you have to have violent tendencies and show no remorse whatsoever. She warned me against continuing the relationship because while he loves me in his own way, as soon as I stop benefiting him, he will most likely drop me. Still, in my naivety, I decided to talk to him as a last ditch effort to save our relationship. I broke my almost month-long silence and texted him asking to meet me at a park should he want to see me. He said yes, and we met up yesterday. I told him that I believed him when he said that he loved me, and that I wanted to make this work, but there would have to be conditions, such as couples therapy and counseling for his childhood trauma. I also requested that he act nicer to his employees, as I didn't want to be with someone who treated people below him that badly. He immediately shut that down and said therapy was for idiots who don't know how to control themselves. He also didn't understand why he should treat his employees nicely, as they were incompetent. He didn't raise his voice, probably because we were in public, if I'm being quite honest. But his demeanor was very aggressive. He said that I was only calling him out on his behavior because of his diagnosis, and that I was fine with him before. However, he is wrong. In this month apart, I have realized that I wasn't fine with him before. I was just excusing his actions. I told him as such, and he got even more annoyed. He asked me why I wasted his time making him come when I could have just told him on text and been done with it. I told him I was trying to save our relationship, and he just rolled his eyes and said he couldn't believe he spent so many years with me. He then left. So, yeah, could I have handled it differently? Sure. Do I regret what happened? Kind of. But what's done is done, and I guess all I have to do is move forward. I'm going to have to pick up my stuff from our house later and get my name off the lease. The friend I'm staying with has been nothing but accommodating toward me and is letting me continue to stay for a while until I find myself a new place. With the pandemic, it's going to be hard, but I'm sure I will manage. Thank you to everyone who gave me genuine advice throughout this journey. Wow. I think that was definitely one of the more, if not the most intriguing stories I've read. I'd be super curious to hear your thoughts. As a lover of true crime stories, recently finished the Dahmer series, the killing of animals would definitely send chills up my spine. It makes you wonder if he was going down a path and didn't, or if he is reformed, or if he is harboring a true nature that simply needs a trigger to be unleashed. These questions make for way more entertaining content, but I don't think people realize how common psychopathy really is. Which is a great segue to the comments, where we'll hear from people who either have some psychopathy themselves or have a psychopath in their lives. Blood and Ash said, unfortunately, ASPD can be tricky to be around. Same with any personality disorder. I think a lot of people buy into the, I can change them if I just try hard enough hype, which isn't fair to themselves or the person or people with the personality disorder. You should never expect people to change their behaviors for others. They should want it for themselves. Zophie shared, a friend of mine suffers from ASPD and some other things. And while he can be smart and charming, people do notice that something is off. He made my ex run away scared once because in his mind she had broken a verbal contract they had. And when he spoke to her about it, everything from his voice, his expression, to his body language were exuding murder. It was chilling to watch this. After she ran away, he turned to me and asked me what was wrong because he did not understand what had happened. He would never hurt his friends after all. I explained to him that it was similar to a dog, that no matter how well you know a dog, if it starts growling and gnashing its teeth, you back the F off. He understood this simile and apologized to her, but this will always stay in my mind. He's a difficult guy to be around. God's Own Nightgown said, I don't know why, but the most interesting part of this story is the boyfriend saying that the OP is the most intelligent person he knows. Someone else added, she very likely is. Most famous psychopaths seem to think they are way above average in intelligence. They aren't actually, but only the smarter ones among them realize that. I'm a bit shocked that she still wanted to salvage that relationship. But I'm not that surprised, since being charming while it suits them is a common trait with functioning psychopaths. At least she goes to therapy. So that might help her assimilate what she's learned about it and what she's been living. That we can't expect to measure their reactions or emotions, or the lack of emotions, with the same yardstick we'd use for ourselves. El Monitor said, did she really expect him to move out of his house? Original Rent said, I must admit that made me scratch my head. Buckaroo added, a lot of her posts made me scratch my head. Baba O'Reilly said, in a shocking twist, he comes across as much more relatable than she does. That part confrontation could absolutely have been a text. Woomy B said, also, I have to say "that doesn't sound very psychopathic" made me stare at my phone. Like, was she expecting him to just start talking about all the people he'd murdered or something? Gullible historian replied, her lack of understanding about the condition is enough to emphatically suggest get the F out of here. She simply does not have the emotional tools nor the emotional intelligence to handle someone like that. It's like the sun trying to relate to a black hole. Random Jen also said, yeah, it felt like she went into the conversation barely knowing what ASPD is and just expected him to be Hannibal Lecter. If you've enjoyed the story and would like to hear more, consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. Thanks, and bye for now.